If you'd told Rook the goblin a year ago that he'd be living under the royal outhouse, he might have laughed. Not because it was impossible, goblins are deeply flexible creatures when it comes to property values, but because he'd have assumed you meant metaphorically. Alas, it was not a metaphor. His new quarters, as the palace steward had so grandly called them, were a stone basement directly beneath the outhouse. A single cot sat in the corner, sagging like it had given up on life somewhere around the previous century. A crooked candle clung to a brass holder that leaned dangerously close to the wall, and all around, from the unseen tangle of pipes above, came the faint, ever-present gurgle of royal plumbing, a reminder that he was quite literally beneath the throne.
Ah,
Rook said, dropping his rucksack onto the damp floor.
luxury.
He poked at a cobweb in the corner which quivered resentfully. The air smelled faintly of mildew and royal diet. Somewhere deep in the walls, a pipe moaned like a ghost with indigestion. Still, compared to his old chicken coop, this was almost a promotion. At least here, the neighbours didn't cluck. Much. He struck a match and lit the candle. The flame flickered, struggling against the gloom. Shadows danced across the stone, one for him, and one for the long, thin shape wrapped in rags leaning against the cot.
"Don't tell me this is it,"
said a crisp, metallic voice from within the wrappings.
"You call this a residence?"
Rook groaned.
Oh, brilliant. The sword's awake.
The blade shimmered faintly as he unwrapped it, revealing a polished hilt inlaid with chips of obsidian and vanity. The sword had a name, of course, though it changed weekly depending on mood.
"This,"
the sword said with a sniff,
"is unacceptable. It's damp. It's unsanitary. It's—"
Cheap.
Rook finished.
Aye, that's sort of the point.
The sword made a noise halfway between a gasp and a chime.
"I am a relic of ancient craftsmanship, forged in dragonfire and bathed in moonlight. I deserve a pedestal, not a puddle."
Rook slung his cloak over the cot.
You'll get a puddle, and you'll like it.
He tried to settle in not easy, since the cot had one leg shorter than the rest and listed like a sinking boat. From somewhere above came the unmistakable sound of the royal plumbing in full operation. The pipes rattled, groaned, and gave a gurgle that was far too personal for comfort.
Right.
Rook muttered, pulling the blanket over his head.
Home sweet home.
He almost drifted off when a knock echoed down the stairs.
"Rook!"
called a voice muffled through the door.
"The king wants you. Urgently."
Rook sat up.
Tell him I'm bathing.
"You're under the outhouse,"
came the reply. Rook sighed.
Exactly.
But there was no escape. When King Wulfric wanted something, he didn't ask twice, not when it came to Rook, the palace's unofficial assassin, errand-boy, and scapegoat. He shoved the sword into its scabbard.
All right, come on then, Shiny. Let's go see what royal suicide mission we've got this week.
"I prefer to think of them as adventures,"
said the sword smugly.
Of course you do.
Rook muttered, climbing the narrow stairs and pushing open the trapdoor into the night air. The royal courtyard glittered in torchlight. The palace loomed ahead, all spires and stained glass and pretentious architecture. Inside, the throne room was a cathedral of gold and ego. King Wulfric sat on his throne, every inch the man who'd never had to carry his own laundry. His beard was neat, his crown polished, and his disdain for Rook practically radiated heat. To his right sat Queen Mirabelle, poised and unbothered, as if the entire world were a mildly amusing play. She smiled faintly when Rook entered, which was either kindness or curiosity Rook could never tell. And then there was Prince Fluffykins, 15, sullen and currently carving something rude into the armrest with a butter knife. He gave Rook a nod that said, "Please cause chaos so I don't have to be bored anymore."
"Rook,"
said Wulfric, his voice dripping with royal venom.
"You've settled into your new quarters, I trust."
Oh, aye,
Rook said.
Cozy. If you don't mind the ghosts and the plumbing.
Mirabelle's smile twitched. Wulfric's didn't.
"Good,"
said the king.
"Then you're ready for a new assignment."
Rook winced. The last assignment had involved a gnome, a toad, and an awkward misunderstanding.
"This is a matter of grave importance,"
continued the king.
"In the depths of Blackroot Forest lies a cavern inhabited by a creature known as the Spider Queen. You will travel there, retrieve one of her fangs, and return it to me.
Rook blinked.
A fang. From a spider. Big enough to have a title.
Exactly.
Right.
Rook muttered.
And what'll you be doing while I'm being eaten?
Supervising.
Said Wulfric, smiling.
From here.
Mirabelle leaned forward slightly.
Do be careful, Rook. I've heard the Spider Queen is terribly fond of goblins.
That's comforting,
said Rook flatly.
Can I go too?
Asked Fluffykins, brightening.
Absolutely not.
The king snapped. Rook gave the prince a nod.
Smart lad. Stay out of the forest. It bites.
The king waved him away.
Off with you. Return only when you have the Fang.
And if I don't?
Then don't bother returning,
said Wulfric pleasantly. Rook bowed more of a sarcastic head tilt than an actual bow and turned to leave. As the throne room doors shut behind him, he sighed.
Spider Queen, eh? How bad could it be?
The sword chuckled softly.
Famous last words.
And somewhere deep in the palace plumbing, something gurgled ominously as if laughing too. The wizard's shop and other poor life choices. Morning found Rook still alive, which he considered a small but meaningful victory. The pipes had gurgled him awake at dawn, not gently, but in a way that suggested the castle plumbing was haunted by digestive spirits. He rose, stretched, and blinked at his crooked candle.
Right. Giant spider fang. Dangerous forest. Definite chance of death. First stop, breakfast.
Except he didn't have any food, or coin, or dignity, really. What he did have was a royal assignment, which meant he could probably charge his expenses to the palace if he said the word quest loudly enough. And so, Rook trudged down the muddy lane that led from the castle gates to the outer market, the sword slung across his back and humming smugly to itself.
Finally,
said the sword.
A proper adventure.
Proper adventure, my foot,
Rook muttered.
It's fetching supplies from a wizard who once tried to sell me invisible boots. And they worked, too, disappeared right off my feet and never came back.
The wizard's shop sat wedged between a bakery and a place that specialised in taxidermied chickens. Its sign read, Althagar's Arcane Emporium, Potions, Charms and Minor Miracles. No refunds, no questions, no explosions. Usually. The bell above the door jingled as Rook stepped inside. The air was thick with incense dust and the faint metallic tang of something that had very recently exploded. Shelves were packed with jars, bottles, scrolls, and the occasional pickled eyeball staring judgmentally through the glass. Behind the counter, bent over a bubbling cauldron, stood a man in purple robes that looked like they'd been borrowed from a curtain and never returned. His beard was long, his spectacles were cracked, and his left eyebrow was missing, presumably the victim of one of his minor miracles.
Morning, Althagar,
said Rook.
You're looking flammable.
The wizard glanced up, eyes wide and vaguely deranged.
Rook, my favourite repeat customer and source of steady insurance premiums.
Glad to see I'm appreciated.
What brings you to my humble den of arcane excellence? Need a love potion? A charm of eternal luck? A potion to make you irresistible to trolls?
Tempting,
said Rook.
But no. The king's sending me after a spider fang.
Althagar froze mid-stir.
Ah, you'll be wanting anti-venom then.
And anti-getting eaten, if you've got any.
The wizard began bustling between shelves, muttering to himself. Bottles clinked, corks popped, and one small jar screamed quietly before he shut it again.
Let's see healing draft, standard issue. A vial of flame leaf extract careful. Don't drink it. It sets your insides on fire. And this one?
He handed Rook a small bottle filled with blue mist.
This is for courage.
Rook squinted at it.
Does it work?
Not particularly, but it tastes like blueberries, which helps.
The sword snorted.
This establishment is a health hazard.
Althagar gasped.
Oh, you brought the sword, may I?
No,
said Rook.
Yes,
said the sword. They both glared at each other, and the wizard ignored them and leaned close, inspecting the blade's surface with scholarly awe.
Magnificent craftsmanship. A relic of pre-dynastic enchantment, I'd wager. Slight corrosion on the hilt, though.
Corrosion!
The sword yelped.
I'll have you know I am polished knightly.
Not by me.
Rook muttered.
Ah, I can fix that.
Althgar declared, rummaging in a drawer and producing a small jar of shimmering pink paste.
Sword balm, guaranteed to restore luster, banish dullness, and occasionally singe the user's eyebrows.
No, thank you.
Rook said, backing away.
Last time you sold me something that glowed, it bit me.
That was user error.
That was a toad.
Althgar beamed.
And yet you survived. You see, my products build character.
Rook sighed.
Fine. I'll take the anti-venom, the healing stuff, the courage juice, and maybe a few smoke bombs if you've got 'em.
The wizard packed everything into a leather satchel that smelled faintly of garlic and regret.
All yours, dear goblin. Just remember, do not, under any circumstances, mix the healing draft with the courage potion.
Why not?
It causes brief but dramatic invisibility, mostly of the skin.
Brilliant,
said Rook.
I'll be sure to die responsibly.
Althgar gave him a fond pat on the shoulder.
Good lad. And if you return alive, I'll give you a discount next time.
On the potions?
On your funeral supplies.
Rook slung the satchel over his shoulder.
You're a real humanitarian, Althgar.
The wizard winked.
That's what the coroner said.
As Rook stepped back into the daylight, the sword sighed.
You do realize those potions could kill us both?
Rook grinned.
Aye, but they were on sale.
He trudged down the lane toward the forest road, past the marketplace noise and into the shade of the looming trees. The air grew colder, the light thinner. Ahead lay the path to Blackroot Forest, and somewhere beyond it, the Spider Queen's lair. Rook tightened his grip on the sword.
Right then,
he muttered.
Let's go find ourselves a Fang and try not to die stupidly.
The sword gleamed faintly.
A noble goal for a goblin.
And with that they vanished into the forest's green gloom, one sarcastic goblin, one vain sword, and a satchel full of potions that definitely weren't tested on humans, into the forest of Blackroot. Blackroot Forest had a reputation, not the charming sort like great picnic spot or ideal for a romantic stroll. No, Blackroot's reputation was more along the lines of don't go in, you'll die. Even from the edge it looked wrong. The trees grew too close together, their trunks warped and knotted like old bones. The branches formed a thick, tangled canopy that swallowed sunlight whole, and the air beneath it hummed with the quiet menace of a place that very much preferred to be left alone. Rook stood at the tree line, clutching his satchel of wizardly supplies and trying not to look nervous.
Well,
he said.
Looks friendly enough.
Don't lie,
said the sword.
The trees are glaring at us.
They always glare. I'm a goblin with a blade, trees know better.
He took a step forward. The ground squelched beneath his boots, releasing a faint smell of decay and disappointment. The sword groaned in disgust.
Ugh! Mud. Why couldn't we have been sent to, say, a beach?
Because His Majesty doesn't want me enjoying myself, that's why.
They trudged deeper into the woods. The light dimmed until it felt like dusk, though it was barely noon. Shadows moved when they shouldn't have, and every now and then Rook heard a rustle just behind him, the sort that made the hair on his neck reconsider its life choices. To take his mind off it, he rummaged in the satchel and pulled out one of Althgar's potions, a small bottle of swirling purple liquid labelled for general heroism.
Think I should try it?
He asked.
Absolutely not,
said the sword. Rook uncorked it.
Rook.
He drank. For a moment nothing happened. Then his ears tingled, his teeth itched, and somewhere in his chest a warm, tingly confidence bubbled up like bad soup.
I feel...
He straightened.
Tall.
You're the same height,
said the sword.
Tall inside. Like I could punch a troll in the kneecap and win.
The sword hummed doubtfully.
How long does this feeling last?
Dunno. Till I die, maybe.
Realistically, about 5 minutes.
The forest closed in thicker around them. Strange fungi glowed faintly on the trunk's soft blues and greens that lit the path like ghostly lanterns. Somewhere above, something hooted. Somewhere below, something else hissed. Rook reached for his knife instinctively and then remembered he already had a perfectly loud sword on his back. A shape darted across the path, small, quick, and low to the ground. Rook froze.
Relax,
whispered the sword.
Probably just a squirrel.
The shape turned. It had 6 eyes and far too many teeth.
That,
said Rook slowly,
ain't a squirrel.
The creature scuttled closer, its spindly legs clicking against the roots. It looked like a spider, if a spider had decided halfway through its evolution that it might prefer being a dog instead. Rook took a cautious step backward.
All right, easy there, creepy puppy.
It hissed again, mandibles twitching. The sword hummed, eager.
Allow me.
Before Rook could argue, the blade leapt from its sheath in a gleam of silver light. Rook barely managed to grab the hilt as it guided itself forward, slicing through the air with more enthusiasm than accuracy. There was a brief scuffle, some frantic shouting.
Left! Left! That's my left, you overgrown letter opener!
And then slunk. The creature collapsed into a twitching heap. Rook blinked.
We won?
Of course we did,
the sword said proudly.
I never lose.
You nearly lost me an arm!
Collateral artistry. Rook stared down at the creature. Its body was already dissolving into black sludge that seeped into the roots. He nudged it with his boot.
Lovely. The forest bleeds tar.
Symbolic,
said the sword.
Of what?
Poor life choices.
Rook wiped the blade clean and kept walking, eyes darting between the trees. The deeper he went, the quieter it became. Even the wind seemed to hesitate before entering this part of the forest. At last he reached a clearing. A massive stone arch rose from the earth, carved with runes that shimmered faintly in the half-light. Beyond it yawned a cave entrance, black as ink, breathing cold air that smelled faintly of rotten silk.
The Spider Queen's lair,
murmured the sword.
Brilliant,
said Rook.
Doesn't look friendly at all.
He glanced back toward the forest trail, a sliver of fading daylight, and then forward into the dark mouth of the cave.
Well,
he said, squaring his shoulders.
No point delaying the inevitable.
Wait,
said the sword.
You're not seriously going in there without a plan?
Course I am. Planning's for people who expect to live.
He took one cautious step, then another. The air grew colder still. Something dripped from the ceiling. Far inside the cave, something else clicked. The sword whispered,
That wasn't an echo.
Yup,
said Rook, eyes wide.
Definitely alive. Probably hungry. Definitely regretting this.
The candle from his pack flickered out, leaving them in the dark. And from deep within the cavern came a long, slow skittering. The cave of the mighty mouse. Rook had faced many kinds of darkness before. The damp, pipe-rattling darkness of his basement quarters. The inky gloom of royal cellars where rats had formed small governments. The existential darkness of realizing your last gold coin was actually a button. But this cave was a special sort of dark. It was the kind that pressed against you, damp and heavy, smelling faintly of moss, old water, and decisions you'd regret later. He crept forward, one hand on the wall, the other gripping the sword's hilt.
I don't like it,
muttered the sword.
The acoustics are dreadful.
Shh,
Rook hissed.
I think I heard something.
They paused. Drip, drip, drip. A faint scuttling echoed from deeper in the cave.
Sounds like our spider,
whispered Rook.
Or indigestion,
said the sword.
Yours, most likely.
They inched further in, the faint blue glow of a potion vial their only light. Rook's boots squelched on the damp stone floor, and somewhere above, something plopped unpleasantly into the darkness. After 10 more cautious steps, they reached a wide chamber. Jagged rocks jutted from the walls like broken teeth. Cobwebs hung thick across the ceiling, or so Rook thought, until one of them twitched.
Right,
he muttered.
That's not creepy at all.
He raised the potion for light.
Who dares trespass in my domain?
The voice boomed through the cavern, rumbling, echoing off every wall. Rook froze.
Oh, great! She's awake!
The sword hummed nervously.
Sounded a bit squeaky, don't you think?
A shadow moved on the far side of the chamber, enormous, hulking, possibly 8-legged. Rook swallowed.
All right, big lass. Let's be reasonable, yeah? No need for eating.
E-A-T, you think I eat goblins?
The voice was indignant now, almost offended.
I don't eat my enemies, I crush them!
Something scuttled close to small, rapid feet. And then, from the shadows, emerged a mouse. Not a magical, monstrous, mutated mouse. Just a mouse. Tiny. Grey. With one torn ear and eyes like black beads full of wild self-importance. Rook blinked.
Oh, well, that's new.
The mouse puffed out its chest, which took effort.
Behold, I am Grim-Tooth the Mighty, scourge of the underground, destroyer of worlds, ruler of this cave.
Rook stared.
You're a mouse.
A troll,
Grimtooth corrected, stamping his tiny paw.
a giant troll cursed into this pitiful form by a jealous sorceress.
The sword murmured.
I'm 90% sure that's nonsense.
Don't ruin the magic.
Rook muttered.
Let's just go with it.
Grimtooth glared up at them from a rock that was clearly meant to serve as a throne. Around him were arranged all manner of treasures. A bent spoon, a bottle cap, a single marble, and what might once have been the leg of a chair.
You stand in my domain uninvited,
Grimtooth bellowed.
and you shall pay tribute or perish.
Rook looked around. The cave walls were decorated with moss and several old socks.
Bit early in the day for perishing, don't you think?
The mouse drew himself up taller.
Silence! None defy Grimtooth the Terrible.
Terrible's right.
Muttered Rook. Grimtooth's whiskers bristled.
You mock me! I have slain beasts twice your size.
What? Frogs?
The mouse squeaked in fury and darted at Rook's boot, biting his toe through the leather.
Oi!
Rook hopped back.
That's assault, that is.
Face my wrath.
Squeaked Grimtooth, launching himself at Rook's leg. The sword groaned.
This is beneath my dignity.
Then stop laughing and help me.
Rook tried to flick the mouse away, but Grimtooth clung on with the tenacity of a tax collector. Eventually, Rook managed to catch him by the tail and hold him up, squealing and flailing.
Put me down, you insolent goblin, or I'll...
He paused, gasping for breath.
I'll cast a fearsome spell.
Rook raised an eyebrow.
Oh, aye? Let's see it then.
The mouse began to squeak rapidly, waving his paws like a conductor.
By fang and fur, by whiskers might, I summon a chew.
A small spark fizzed from his paw and hit Rook in the nose. It didn't burn. It tickled. Rook sneezed so hard he dropped the mouse. Grimtooth landed with a squeak of triumph.
See, my power is limitless.
The sword sighed.
Can we go now? Before the ferocious dust bunny shows up?
Rook dusted himself off.
Aye! Let's leave His Majesty to his empire of old socks.
But before he turned to go, he noticed something behind Grimtooth's throne. A small tunnel, half hidden by stones, and a faint glimmer of silk deep within. Rook squinted.
Oh, there's another cave.
Deeper,
Said the sword.
and darker.
Which means this ain't the Spider Queen's lair.
Rook said.
We've been threatened by a mouse with a marble collection.
Grimtooth puffed out his chest again.
A mighty marble, gifted by the gods.
Sure it was.
Said Rook.
Keep the kingdom safe, Your Majesty.
The mouse nodded solemnly.
You may pass, small goblin, but beware the path ahead. Only true heroes survive.
Good thing I ain't one.
Rook muttered, stepping past him. As they headed toward the narrow tunnel, Grimtooth's voice echoed faintly behind them.
Don't come back any time. I shall be here guarding my realm.
Rook chuckled.
Mad as a bag of weasels, that one.
Still less dangerous than most nobles.
Said the sword.
True.
Rook adjusted his satchel and ducked into the tunnel, the air growing colder and tighter as he went. Behind him, Grimtooth's triumphant squeaks faded into the distance. Ahead, the faint shimmer of spider silk grew thicker, and the gurgling hiss of something very much larger stirred in the dark.
Right.
Rook muttered.
Guess the real cave's next.
The sword gleamed faintly in the gloom.
And this time, let's hope it's only a giant spider.
Revenge of Grimtooth the Mighty. Rook had faced many traps in his time, bear traps, bandit snares, and even one memorable occasion involving an exploding pie. But never before had he been undone by string and optimism. It began, as most of Rook's problems did, with overconfidence. The path through the forest had grown narrower, choked by roots that slithered underfoot like lazy snakes. He'd been humming to himself, feeling rather pleased. The Spider Queen's cave was finally behind him, his pack a little heavier with fang-shaped proof, and the faint reek of victory clinging to his boots.
Admit it,
Rook said to the sword.
I'm getting good at this quest stuff. One spider down, only a lifetime of certain death left.
The sword replied dryly.
Yes, truly, your competence is terrifying.
That was when Rook's foot snagged something. A faint twang cut through the forest air. Before he could blink, the ground yanked out from under him. A rope whipped tight around his middle, and the next thing he knew, he was upside down, swinging gently like a festive decoration.
Oh!
Rook flailed, trying to reach his belt knife.
Not again!
Mused the sword.
Ingenious craftsmanship, though I suspect not spider-made.
The trap creaked, spun once, and dropped him. Thunk. Rook hit the wall of a small hollow carved into the side of a hill. Or rather, he hit a net strung so tightly it pinned him flat against cold stone, arms trapped, legs dangling.
Welcome back, intruder.
The voice was unmistakable, squeaky, smug, positively dripping with self-satisfaction. Rook groaned.
Oh, not you.
From the shadows emerged Grimtooth the Mighty, looking even smugger than before, wearing what appeared to be a discarded thimble as a helmet, and dragging behind him a length of thread tied like a rope belt.
You thought you could trespass in my realm and escape my wrath,
The mouse declared, tail twitching with manic pride.
but I, Grimtooth, am ever vigilant. None elude my traps.
Rook squirmed helplessly.
It's a net made of shoelaces. Silence! You hang in the web of doom,
Grimtooth struck a dramatic pose.
woven by my loyal minions.
Rook peered around.
You mean the spiders?
Grimtooth froze.
Number, the beetles.
He glanced toward a pair of confused beetles shoving a pebble nearby.
Lazy creatures, but adequate.
The sword snorted.
This is pitiful. I refuse to die in a shoelace web.
Relax.
Rook muttered.
He'll tire himself out.
But Grimtooth was only warming up.
You mocked me, goblin, laughed at my might, called me tiny.
He squeaked the last word with tragic fury.
Now you shall face my vengeance.
Rook tried to scratch his nose but couldn't move.
You done?
Not yet.
Grimtooth climbed up onto a small stone and began pacing like a warlord in miniature.
For your crimes, you shall face the trial of heroic endurance.
The what now?
3 deadly challenges.
Grimtooth announced.
First, you must withstand the agony of tickle torture.
Before Rook could respond, 3 of Grimtooth's minions, small field mice, wearing acorn caps, scurried forward, brandishing feathers.
Oh no!
Groaned the sword.
He's serious.
Rook squirmed as the mice tickled his ears and neck with deadly precision.
Oi! Pack it in! I'll achoo! I'll sneeze myself to death!
Confess your inferiority.
Cried Grimtooth.
Admit my supremacy.
Fine, you're the mightiest mouse whatever squeaked.
Grimtooth gasped.
Really?
Yes!
Rook wheezed.
Now get me down before I sneeze me lungs out.
The mouse struck a regal pose.
So be it. Let it be known across the forest. Grimtooth the Mighty has conquered the goblin of the bridge.
Rook gritted his teeth.
You didn't conquer me. You tripped me up with laundry.
Grimtooth waved a paw.
Details.
With an exaggerated flourish, he scampered to a small lever made of twigs and a bent spoon.
You are free to go, lesser creature. Tell the world of my greatness.
He pulled the lever. The net gave way. Rook hit the ground with a thud that shook a few acorns loose.
Ow!
Grimtooth peered down at him, beaming.
Fear me next time, goblin. My traps are everywhere.
Rook sat up slowly, rubbing his head.
You're unbelievable. You know that?
I am a legend,
Said Grimtooth proudly, and marched off into the undergrowth, cape, a leaf, fluttering heroically behind him. The sword snorted.
If that's a legend, then I'm a salad fork.
Rook groaned, pushing himself up.
Come on. before he tries to knight himself again.
As they left the clearing, a faint voice echoed from behind.
Grimtooth triumphs again!
Yep.
Rook muttered.
He's definitely the one who's gonna take over the world.
The trap of Grimtooth the Mighty. The forest of Blackroot was not a friendly place. It whispered, it sighed, it dropped suspicious things on your head from above. Every tree looked like it wanted to report you for trespassing, and the moss on the rocks was the kind that squelched in a judgmental way when you stepped on it. Rook trudged along the narrow path, squinting through the dim green haze. His satchel jingled faintly with potions, half of which were probably expired, and his sword muttered somewhere near his hip like an irritated cat.
Are you sure we're headed the right way?
The sword asked, its voice echoing faintly in the damp air.
Nope.
Said Rook.
But it's the only way that smells like wet despair, so I'd say we're close.
According to the king's map, which had been drawn by someone who clearly hated both accuracy and perspective, the Spider Queen's lair was somewhere after the bend, probably past the ominous bit. Rook had passed at least 6 ominous bits already. He stopped, sniffed, and frowned. Something about the air felt wrong. Too still, too quiet, too prepared.
He
murmured.
You ever get the feeling you've walked into something stupid?
Constantly,
said the sword.
Usually when you're holding me.
Rook took another cautious step, and the forest floor snapped beneath him. Before he could curse, a rope whipped up from the undergrowth, yanking him backward with the subtlety of a trebuchet. He crashed against a tree trunk. No, a wall. A slab of old stone half swallowed by roots. Something wrapped around him. Not ropes, exactly. Vines, slick and coiled like green serpents.
Oi! Get off!
He barked, struggling. The vines tightened, his arms were pinned, his legs kicked uselessly in the air.
Excellent,
said the sword dryly.
Captured by vegetation. Again.
Then came a familiar sound, a squeaky laugh. Triumphant, and far too small for the amount of pride behind it.
Well, 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 look what the forest dragged in.
Rook closed his eyes.
Oh, no.
From a nearby bush, wearing a nutshell helmet and dragging a bent pin like a spear, emerged Grimtooth the Mighty. The mouse strutted into view as though the entire forest had assembled to watch his entrance.
Did you truly believe you could escape me, goblin? The master trapper of Blackroot, the terror of the underbrush?
Rook sighed.
You again. Thought I told you to stick to your sock empire.
Grimtooth stamped a paw.
Silence! You mocked me once, but no more. Behold my masterpiece.
He gestured dramatically to the vine trap, which promptly dropped a small clump of leaves onto Rook's head.
It's something,
Rook muttered.
It is the vine of vengeance,
Grimtooth declared, pacing proudly before his captive.
Crafted by my own paws, baited with precision, sprung with flawless execution.
It's a tripwire tied to weeds,
Rook said.
Don't ruin it,
said the sword. Grimtooth scurried up onto a rock, glaring down at him. Now, Goblin, you will admit my superiority and surrender your shiny sword as tribute. Rook blinked.
You want the sword?
I demand it,
squeaked Grimtooth. The sword groaned.
I refuse to be handled by vermin.
Grimtooth bristled.
Vermin! I am a lord of conquest, the future ruler of...
Snap! Rook twisted slightly against the vines. Something gave way. He grinned faintly.
Of all beneath the boughs,
Grimtooth continued, waving his pin spear dramatically.
The forest shall tremble before my... Wait, what are you doing?
Rook wriggled again. A vine snapped, then another.
Stretching.
Stop that! You're ruining the narrative.
Yeah, well, the narrative's a bit tight.
He twisted sharply, yanked his arm free, and reached for the hilt of his sword.
Don't you dare!
Squeaked Grimtooth.
The vine of vengeance is unbreakable.
Rook gave one final tug. The last vine tore loose with a wet schloop.
Unbreakable, huh?
Grimtooth's whiskers drooped.
I may have miscalculated the tensile strength.
Rook stepped forward, brushing off leaves.
Right then. We're even.
Even!
Grimtooth sputtered.
You insulted me! You mocked my empire!
I also nearly sneezed myself to death last time, so I reckon that's payment enough.
Rook leaned down, grinning.
Now, before I accidentally sit on you, how about you let me go find the Spider Queen, eh?
The mouse crossed his paws, huffing.
Fine, go, but know this, our rivalry is eternal.
Sure it is.
Rook turned to leave, then paused.
Oh, and Grimtooth?
What?
You might want to fix your tripwire. You're standing on it.
The mouse blinked.
Wait, what?
Twang! The rope whipped, the vine released, and Grimtooth shot upward into the air like a very angry grey comet, disappearing into the canopy with a faint squeal. Rook dusted himself off.
Right. Back to business.
The sword sighed.
If that mouse ever gets opposable thumbs, we're doomed.
Aye.
Said Rook, adjusting his satchel.
But at least it'll be funny.
And with that he trudged deeper into the forest, where the air grew colder, the trees thicker, and somewhere ahead the first faint whisper of spider silk danced in the gloom. The watchers of the web. Night in the forest of Blackroot was not a peaceful thing. The trees didn't sleep, they listened. The air didn't rest, it waited. Even the moon, pale and distant through the canopy, seemed to be peering down nervously as if wondering what on earth the goblin below was doing there at all. Rook crouched near a small campfire he'd built from damp wood and spite. The flames hissed and sputtered, sending curls of smoke that smelled faintly of wet mushrooms. His sword lay propped against a log, sulking.
I told you we should have kept walking,
the sword muttered. Rook jabbed at the fire with a stick.
And I told you I don't do night hikes in murder forests. We'll go at first light.
assuming you survive until then.
Cheerful, aren't you?
The forest was quiet, too quiet. The sort of quiet that made your skin feel like it was listening. Even the usual chorus of chirps and croaks had gone silent. Rook sighed, pulled his threadbare cloak tighter, and tried not to think about the Spider Queen, or Grimtooth, or the fact that both were probably still out there somewhere plotting revenge in very different tones of squeaky. The fire popped. A single ember drifted up and vanished. That was when he felt it, that strange, pricking sense of being watched. He turned slowly. Nothing, just trees. Then the sword spoke, voice low.
Don't move!
Why?
Because we're surrounded!
Rook's eyes flicked to the shadows beyond the firelight. At first he saw nothing, then movement. Subtle, sinister. A shimmer of silk, a glint of too many eyes, shapes shifting just beyond the orange-glow delicate legs, impossibly still, poised in the half-dark.
Ah,
Rook whispered.
Lovely. I love an audience.
The sword hummed faintly.
They're not attacking!
Yet? Maybe they're curious.
Maybe they're waiting for dessert.
One spider larger than a wolfhound, its body glistening like wet glass, stepped just close enough that the firelight brushed its legs. It made a faint clicking sound, almost like teeth chattering. Rook swallowed.
All right, lads. You've had your fun. I'm just passing through, yeah? No reason to.
The spider tilted its head. Another answered from the trees a long dry whisper that made Rook's skin crawl. He inched toward his sword.
You reckon they understand us?
Doubtful.
Good. 'Cause I'm about to say some very rude words.
The sword hummed softly, its blade reflecting the flicker of firelight.
They're waiting for something.
Maybe orders from their queen.
Or maybe,
said the sword.
they just want to see what you do next.
Rook sat very still. He could feel dozens of eyes watching from the dark, waiting, measuring. After a long, brittle moment, the biggest spider lowered itself slightly, a strange, graceful bow, and then backed away into the trees. One by one, the others followed, melting into the shadows like smoke. Within seconds, the forest was empty again, silent, still. Rook let out a shaky breath.
Right.
Maybe they like you,
said the sword.
Oh, aye, everyone does. Kings, wizards, oversized arachnids, it's my charm.
He threw another damp stick onto the fire and watched the sparks struggle upward. Tomorrow he'd reach the Spider Queen's cave. Tonight he'd try and fail to sleep, knowing that somewhere in the darkness dozens of eyes were still watching. Breakfast of fools. Morning arrived reluctantly in the forest of Blackroot. The mist hadn't got the memo about dawn and clung to everything like a sullen ghost refusing to clock off. Even the sun seemed hesitant to rise, sending only a few miserable rays down through the canopy as if it too wanted to avoid whatever nonsense was happening below. And below, Rook was trying to make breakfast.
Right!
He muttered, crouched by the remains of his campfire.
Let's see what we've got. One suspicious egg, a heel of bread, and a potion that smells like burnt cabbage.
The sword lying nearby sounded unimpressed.
Please tell me that's not the food.
It's breakfast.
He cracked the egg into a dented tin cup. The contents slithered out in a colour that no self-respecting egg should ever be. It hissed faintly. The sword sighed.
It's alive.
Rook sniffed it.
Not for long.
He rummaged through his pack and produced one of Althagor the Wizard's instant meal enhancer potions, a little vial with a cheerful label that read, "For bland food, just add magic," in handwriting that looked like it had been done by a spider.
This'll help,
Rook said.
You said that last time.
And the sword replied.
And we spent 2 hours running from sentient porridge.
Rook ignored it and poured a drop into the cup. There was a fizz, a pop, and a faint smell of cinnamon and regret. Then the egg began to bubble.
That's normal,
Rook said hopefully. It wasn't. The mixture in the cup began to rise slowly at first, then faster, puffing up like bread dough on a vendetta. In seconds it overflowed, expanding into a foamy yellow mass that wriggled toward him.
Ah,
said the sword.
It's happening again.
Noted.
Rook grabbed a stick and tried to push the blob back toward the fire. It sizzled, hissed, and to his utter horror squeaked. The blob grew little lumps, then eyes, then a mouth.
Good morning,
It chirped. Rook froze.
Did my breakfast just say hello?
The blob wobbled happily.
Lovely day for a stroll, innit?
The sword groaned.
Oh, by the gods!
The blob rolled forward, leaving a slimy trail.
Where we off to then, boss?
To the fire!
Rook growled and punted it squarely back into the flames. There was a brief offended sizzle, then silence.
Right!
Rook said, brushing his hands.
Breakfast sorted.
Sorted is an interesting word for it,
Said the sword.
Quiet, or you're next.
After a long drink of cold water and some aggressively stale bread, Rook packed his things and kicked dirt over the fire. The forest was quieter now, too quiet again. The memory of the watching spiders lingered, like eyes he could still feel on the back of his neck.
Right then,
He muttered.
Spider Queen's cave, take 2. Let's get this over with.
The lair beneath. By midday, the trees had grown twisted and black, their roots like coiled serpents in the soil. Threads of silk hung between the branches thick, silver strands that glistened in the half-light.
Charming neighborhood.
Rook said under his breath. The sword hummed nervously.
Careful! This is her territory now.
The path ended at the mouth of a cavern, a dark wound in the earth rimmed with glistening web. Cold air breathed out from it, smelling faintly of dust, damp stone, and things that shouldn't be breathing. Rook took a deep breath.
All right, Rook. Remember what Mirabelle said. Don't die. Simple enough.
He drew the sword. The blade caught what little light there was, gleaming pale and cold.
Ready?
He asked.
Always,
Said the sword.
though preferably for lunch, not death.
Together they stepped into the cave. The darkness swallowed them almost immediately. Each footstep echoed against the walls, mingling with the soft whisper of web threads brushing against his cloak. Deeper they went until Rook could no longer tell whether the faint tapping behind him was dripping water or something with far too many legs keeping pace. A faint voice, or maybe it was the wind, hissed through the tunnel. Little goblin, little blade, Rook froze.
Did you hear that?
Yes!
Said the sword.
And I wish I hadn't.
The voice came again, closer now, a soft whisper that seemed to crawl along the walls. Come closer, I've been expecting you. Rook swallowed.
Oh, wonderful. She's psychic. That'll help.
From ahead came a faint glimmer not of sunlight, but of webbing so dense it shimmered like crystal. And at the centre of it, vast and still, hung the Spider Queen herself. The Spider Queen, a very messy fight. She arrived as a pressure, a weight that made the hair on Rook's arm stand up and the candle on his breath fizzle. The chamber pulsed with the sound of 1,000 legs moving in time, a percussion so slow and enormous it felt like the cave itself was breathing. Glistening silk hung from the ceiling in thick sheets that shivered when the queen shifted. At the centre of that living cathedral, framed in a lattice of silver threads, she reclined like a monarch on a webbed throne, the size of a cart, body black as wet night, eyes a-ring many tiny green moons all watching. Her mandibles clicked with deliberate hunger. Rook's mouth went dry. He unclipped a potion, fingers clumsy. Althaga's label seemed particularly optimistic this morning, for general heroism and temporary fortitude do not combine. He downed a slug of both because panic does not pair well with caution. At once the world sharpened. The courage filled his joints like oil. His hands felt precise. For a blessed 2 minutes, he was everything the label promised: bold, quick, and unreasonably sure of his balance. Then the queen moved. Her forelegs lashed like cathedral beams. Silk cords lashed out, whipping across the chamber, trying to bind, coil, and drag. Rook rolled, blade drawn. The sword freed itself from its scabbard in a silver flash and sang a bright slicing note that split air and silk. Spiders erupted from shadow, little ones like bees, then middling ones with too many claws, and enormous hulking shapes that smelled faintly of mildew and old iron. They poured over the cave floor like a black tide, fangs gleaming. Rook dodged a lunging spider, its mandibles snapping shut where his shoulder had been a breath earlier. The creature missed by inches and hissed, spitting a sticky acidic thread that sizzled a shallow groove into the stone where it hit. He kicked the thing away and slashed. The sword bit through silk and shell with stubborn, elegant cruelty, flinging the spider into a heap that dissolved into black dust.
Faster!
Urged the sword, every inch the temperamental warrior.
Aim for the joints sharp, decisive!
Less lecture, more killing!
Rook snapped, ducking under a swinging leg. He ground his heel into its soft belly. The spider shrieked like a kettle and collapsed, its carcass sputtering into crumbs. A hand of silk tried to drag him backward. He leapt, twisting midair, and the rope stung past his chest. He landed on all fours, spit in his mouth and grit between his teeth. From his pack he ripped a smoke bomb, one of those neat little near-explosion specials Althgar sold, with a wink and minimal legal paperwork. He smashed the fuse, threw, and the bomb blossomed in a gout of smelling smoke and spark. For a heartbeat the cave filled with choking sweetness. The spiders recoiled. Their many eyes blinked like a disk of black buttons. Rook used the chance to sprint, blade spitting, cutting a path. Silk snapped and unrolled, webs fluttered like shredded flags. The spider queen reared, enormous mandibles opening. A thick strand of web shot out, aimed like a harpoon. It grazed Rook's cloak and dragged him suddenly toward her. He fought the pull with every scrap of muscle, boots clawing rock.
Not today!
He gasped and jabbed his sword into the web. The blade hummed, the strand shuddered, wove around the metal, and the queen's strength tried to wrench it free. Rook braced his feet, grunting. The strand tightened like a noose. Something in the queen's posture changed. One of her many eyes flared a sudden terrible red. The chamber tasted of iron. She doubled her effort. Rook's fingers slipped on the hilt. The web began to pull him forward toward those mandibles and the smell of cold, wet hunger. In that instant his foot found a root and his knee slammed into a jagged rock. Pain shot up his leg. He let out an animal laugh and pivoted, using the pain, using the leverage, twisting. The sword sang as metal met web. The strand began to fray. Leg's drum rolled around him. He could feel the heat of the queen's breath like a furnace. Time narrowed to the meeting of blade and silk. With a final, ridiculous shove, he shoved the hilt down and shoved upward. The web snapped. The queen's harpoon collapsed. Rook tumbled back into the damp earth and rolled, coughing and laughing, his heart thudding like a frantic drum. The queen was not finished. She lunged a terrifying, easy motion that could have been grace if it had not been lethal. But the sword stabbed into her flank as she passed, and a geyser of sticky black fluid sprayed the cave like a foul rain. The blade glowed weirdly, as though the sword itself did not care for being fouled. It bit and sang and then, at last, found purchase in something softer. An arm, a joint, the thin membrane at the base of a foreleg.
Hit the sack!
The sword yelled.
Hit the soft belly! Cut the silk glands!
Rook scrambled, slashed with the backhand, and the queen howled a sound like wind through bone. Silk rained down in ropes. The smaller spiders, seeing their queen wounded, hesitated. Instinct wavered. He saw then a pale point, an ivory fang larger than his forearm, set in the shadowed mouth. It gleamed with a poisonous film. He lunged, throwing himself like something that had nothing left to lose. The cave spun mandibles, silk ropes, the hiss of fangs inches from his face. His fingers closed around the fang. It was slick and hot with venom and cold with the cave's breath. He yanked. The queen flailed, shrieking in a way that vibrated dust from the ceiling. Silk tore like canvas. Spiders scattered, half mad with grief and fury. He scrambled back, clutching the fang like a trophy and like something fragile because it was both. The sword flashed, carving a path as he retreated. The queen lashed out with legs and web, but her movements were sluggish now, wounded. She reeled, enormous and furious, and then retreated into the deeper dark, dragging behind her threads that shuddered and hung like shredded banners. The cave paused, a held breath, then the smaller spiders slunk away, scattering into cracks and fissures like spilled ink. Rook collapsed onto his back, panting so hard his lungs felt like bagpipes. The fang gleamed in his hands, terrible and beautiful. He laughed, half hysterical, and then he vomited politely into some moss. The sword clicked to his side, a tired, fond sound.
You're a mess!
A heroic mess,
Rook gasped.
Get us out of here!
He wrapped the fang in a strip of his torn cloak and slung it into his satchel. Around him, the cave kept its silence. But it was a quiet patch now, with the knowledge that the monarchy of the webs had bled. Outside, the forest waited less hostile now, or maybe it was simply exhausted from watching. Rook stumbled out into the dim light, shoulders aching, mouth tasting of smoke and victory. Behind him, somewhere in the depth of the cave, a long, slow thud echoed the Spider Queen, moving, healing, vowing, and that echo promised the story was far from over. But for this moment the fang was his, and that in the neat arithmetic of palace politics was all that mattered. The wrong turn and the right amount of screaming. Rook was certain he'd found the exit. He had the map, sort of, the fang, definitely, and the distinct glowing satisfaction of a goblin who'd just survived something with far too many legs. The tunnel ahead sloped upward, smelled less like death, and that to Rook was good enough geography. The sword hummed at his hips, smug and talkative.
Glorious battle, that one,
it said, voice sharp as new steel.
A proper duel! Blood, venom, the clash of courage and chitin.
Rook snorted.
You nearly got us eaten twice!
Details,
said the sword.
Every masterpiece needs tension.
The passage twisted left, then right, then down a steep slope slick with old silk. Rook slid, tried to break with his boots, failed spectacularly, and rolled into a heap at the bottom. Dust puffed up around him, and he coughed.
Well, fresh air any minute now.
Then something moved. A shudder ran through the walls, not an echo this time, but a pulse. A low, unmistakable chitter, deep and furious. The cave ceiling trembled, silk threads vibrating like harp strings struck by anger. The Spider Queen was back. Rook blinked upward, and there she was, half shrouded in the dark, twice as furious, her wounded leg dragging but her eyes burning like green fireflies in a storm. The web lines above her quivered, an orchestra of death tuning up.
Oh, lovely,
said Rook, groaning.
We took the scenic route.
The sword's tone turned gleeful.
Round 2.
No, round done.
But the queen dropped from the ceiling like a collapsing chandelier. Webs exploded outward, the air filled with the hiss of silk. Rook dove sideways, rolled behind a stalagmite, and the sword vibrated with excitement, practically yelping.
Charge her! Strike true! For glory!
I'm striking for survival!
Rook yelled, parrying a leg that stabbed into the stone beside him. Sparks flew. He swung back, the sword biting deep into the same wounded joint as before. The queen shrieked, a high, wet noise that made his eardrums wince. Venom sprayed in a silver mist, sizzling wherever it landed. Rook ducked behind another rock as droplets ate through the stone like acid. He popped open a bottle from Althaga's pack unlabelled, which was always a bad sign, and hurled it. The bottle burst in green smoke, and for one miraculous second the queen froze, legs tangling. It didn't last. She lunged again, smashing through the haze. Rook's boots slipped on the slick-webbed floor. He fell hard, scraping elbows, the sword clattering beside him. The queen loomed, mandibles dripping, eyes blazing. He reached for the blade too slow. Her leg came down like a spear. The sword, still lying on the ground, moved. A metallic hum rippled through the air. It threw itself upward into Rook's grasp as if offended by his hesitation. He caught it crosswise and blocked the strike with a sound like thunder.
Ha!
The sword crowed on.
That's the spirit!
Rook shoved, twisted, and sliced through the limb. Black ichor splattered, stinging his face. He kicked the severed leg aside and ran under her body, the air thick with silk strands and dust. He slashed at the sacks along her abdomen, cutting through the tension of the webbing. The queen reared, shaking the cavern so violently chunks of stone fell from above. Rook dodged one, barely, and tumbled into a pit of half-eaten cocoons. Dozens of eyes blinked at him from the shadow's smaller spiders, panicked, waiting. Rook glared back.
Don't you even think about it,
he said. He scrambled up, jumped, grabbed a hanging silk line, swung himself like a very underqualified trapeze artist, and landed back on the queen's back. The sword gleamed, humming like a struck bell.
For the honor of...
Shut up!
Rook yelled and drove it straight down. The blade sank into the soft joint where the queen's carapace met her neck. She let out one final hideous shriek, a sound that rattled the stones loose and sent every lesser spider fleeing into cracks and shadows. The cavern trembled, then fell utterly still. Rook stood panting, slick with venom and web dust, the sword quivering in the corpse like a satisfied cat. Then the floor gave way. He fell with a yell, tumbling through the layers of silk until he landed in a lower tunnel, mercifully cushioned by centuries of webbing. He lay there, staring at the ceiling.
Well,
he said at last, breathless.
That's one way to find an exit.
The sword pulsed with faint light, pleased.
You see? Glorious. I told you we could finish her.
Finish her?
Rook croaked, sitting up.
She nearly finished us. I've been marinated in spider spit.
But even as he grumbled, he could feel the weight of victory sitting oddly warm in his chest. The air was fresher down here and ahead. Through a crack in the rock, a thin strip of daylight leaked in. Rook dragged himself forward, one boot missing, cloak in tatters, clutching the queen's fang and the sword like his only friends. When he finally crawled out into the morning, the forest greeted him with the polite chirping of birds far too cheerful for someone who'd just murdered an arachnid monarch. Rook spat out a stray strand of web.
If Wulfric doesn't give me a raise,
he muttered,
I'm moving back into the chicken coop.
The sword chuckled, metallic and smug.
Oh, stop pretending! You love this life.
Rook sighed, glancing back at the dark cave mouth. Somewhere inside, the echo of the Spider Queen's fall still whispered through the stone. He sheathed the sword, squared his shoulders, and started the long limping walk back toward the castle, the fang tucked under one arm, victory at his back, and about 36 new nightmares brewing quietly in his brain. Something watching. The forest was quieter on the way back. Too quiet, in fact, the sort of quiet that has opinions. Rook trudged through the damp leaves, clutching the Spider Queen's fang under one arm and the sword under the other like a very muddy, very exhausted delivery goblin. The trees leaned close, whispering in that irritating way trees do when they know something you don't. He could feel it, that itch between the shoulder blades that meant something was watching. Not just the usual birds or spirits or resentful fairies either. Something heavier. He spun once, twice, saw nothing but a tangle of shadows and web-snagged branches.
Show yourself,
he barked. Silence, then a flicker, a pair of faint green glimmers deep among the trunks, gone before he could blink. The sword murmured at his hip.
You felt that too, didn't you?
Probably indigestion,
Rook muttered.
That potion I drank had legs.
He didn't see the eyes again, but he didn't stop feeling them, either, like the forest had decided it wasn't done with him. By the time he reached the castle, dawn had just begun to smear pink light across the towers. He crept around the courtyard to avoid the guards, mostly because he didn't want to explain why he smelled like roasted arachnid and descended into the basement beneath the outhouse, his so-called private quarters. The candle was still guttering in its crooked holder, dripping wax onto a shelf of very non-regal tools, a cracked mug, 2 socks of differing ambitions, and a bucket that had recently given up on being waterproof. Rook tossed his cloak aside, flopped onto the cot, and was asleep before his head even found the pillow. Sometime later, a noise woke him, a very urgent noise. The sort of noise that said, "Get up right now or there will be plumbing consequences." Groaning, Rook staggered up, bleary-eyed, clutching his stomach. He fumbled for the door, mumbled something about cursed meat rations, and shuffled toward the toilet in the dark. That's when his foot caught something, a thin, near-invisible wire strung low across the floor. Rook had exactly 1 second to realize this before gravity won. He pitched forward, arms flailing, and bonk! His forehead met the downpipe with a sound like a cracked bell. Water gurgled cheerfully somewhere inside, unaware it had just been head-butted by an assassin of mild reputation. Rook lay on the floor, dazed, whispering,
Ow!
to the plumbing gods. The sword, still sheathed nearby, sighed, elegant as ever. He groaned, crawled into the outhouse, took care of urgent business, and finally collapsed back into bed, muttering darkly about
Castle sabotage.
and
Revenge by sanitation.
the next morning. Sunlight stabbed rudely through the small basement window. Rook groaned, rolled over, and discovered his head had grown a respectable lump, an impressive purple egg that pulsed with every heartbeat.
Marvelous.
He muttered.
Hero of the realm, concussed by a drain.
He pulled on his boots, wrong feet, threw on a cloak that smelled faintly of wet spider, and decided he should probably report to the royal family before King Wulfric sent a search party, or worse, another quest. The castle above was already in uproar. Servants dashed in every direction, yelling things like, "Find the prince!" and "Where did he go this time?" Rook blinked.
What? Again?
He followed the noise to the corridor near the throne room, where chaos reigned supreme. A guard was trying to comfort a distraught maid. Someone had spilled an entire tray of jam tarts, and in the middle of it all, Prince Fluffykins stood barefoot in his royal pyjamas, looking both innocent and wildly guilty.
Rook,
He exclaimed when he saw him.
something weird happened last night.
Rook rubbed his head.
Join the club, your highness.
No, seriously.
The prince said, tugging his sleeve.
I had these dreams. There was whispering and webbing, and something moved outside my window.
Rook froze.
Webbing?
Fluffykins nodded, wide-eyed.
And it wasn't there this morning, but the guards swear the South Tower's covered in, stringy stuff. Like very sticky, stringy stuff.
The sword at Rook's hip gave a low, uneasy hum.
Fantastic.
Rook muttered.
Either the plumbing's haunted, or the Spider Queen's got sisters.
Sisters?
Fluffykins squeaked. Rook sighed, straightened his crooked cloak, and eyed the jam-spattered hallway.
Looks like breakfast's going to have to wait.
Then quieter to the sword.
Told you something was watching.
The sword's voice was very serious for once.
One of them followed us home.
Rook's eyes flicked toward the high castle window, where just for an instant, the morning light caught on something faint and silvery. A single strand of web drifted down, catching on the sill. He groaned.
Brilliant. Knew I should have taken a left turn at the acid pit.
His Royal Highness the Hypocrite. By the time Rook reached the throne room, the bruise on his forehead had developed its own heartbeat. 2 guards announced him with all the fanfare of a parade gone wrong. Trumpets slightly out of tune, banners half stuck in the doorway. Rook shuffled in, mud on his boots, spider fang under one arm, and a faint smell of web fire clinging to his clothes. At the far end of the hall sat King Wulfric, all beard and ego, draped in enough fur and gold to smother a small village. Queen Mirabelle lounged beside him, serene as sunrise, while Prince Fluffykins was pacing, chewing on a slice of jam toast.
Ah, the hero returns.
King Wulfric declared, voice echoing off the marble.
The slayer of spiders. The scourge of, cobwebs.
Rook bowed, or rather, executed something that vaguely resembled a bow and more closely resembled a back spasm.
Your Majesty,
He said dryly.
1 giant spider dispatched. Cave mostly intact, Minimal screaming. Moderate trauma.
He held up the fang. It gleamed wickedly in the light. The guards flinched.
Marvelous,
Wulfric said, clapping his hands once.
You see, Mirabelle, what did I tell you? Send a goblin to do a knight's job and...
You'll get it done for 1/10 of the cost,
Mirabelle murmured, smiling behind her fan. Wulfric's smile twitched.
Indeed. Efficient if a little unorthodox.
He leaned forward, eyes narrowing at the fang.
And that's truly from the Spider Queen herself?
Rook shrugged.
Unless she had a spare fang lying around, yes.
Fluffykins perked up.
Did she scream? Was it epic?
Lots of legs, though. 10 out of 10 for nightmare fuel.
The sword hanging at his hip gave an indignant sniff.
You're underselling our glory.
Rook ignored it. Wulfric cleared his throat, clearly trying to reclaim the attention of his own throne room.
Well, a job well done, I suppose. You've performed admirably, Goblin Rook, despite my many doubts.
Thank you, Your Majesty,
Rook said, though his tone made it sound like an insult.
Yes, yes.
The king went on.
A fine display of loyalty. Perhaps
He drew out the word like he was tasting something sour.
we shall even grant you a small bonus.
Rook's ears perked.
Gold?
Room upgrades.
Said Wulfric, smiling wickedly.
A second candle, perhaps. And a slightly less smelly mattress.
Truly you spoil me.
Mirabelle giggled, waving her fan.
Now, husband, don't tease him so. Rook has risked his life for us yet again.
She leaned toward the goblin.
Did the sword behave?
It screamed louder than I did.
Rook said. The sword made a scandalized hum.
I projected authority.
Mirabelle's smile widened.
Charming.
Wulfric ignored them both, rising to his full height, which was impressive, though somewhat undercut by the fact that his royal slippers squeaked.
One more thing, Rook,
He said, voice booming.
There have been reports this morning. Strange happenings. Threads of silk appearing in the South Tower, shadows moving where they ought not. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you?
Rook hesitated.
Define no.
Mirabelle tilted her head.
Is there a chance,
She said delicately.
that your little adventure may have followed you home?
Rook sighed.
There's always a chance, but I prefer to think of it as a souvenir.
Fluffykins gasped.
You mean there's another spider?
Maybe.
Said Rook.
Or maybe the castle just has a new decorator with very poor taste.
Wulfric's face twitched like a man trying not to shout.
If another one of those creatures is in my castle, Rook, I shall.
Mirabelle cut in sweetly.
Send your best goblin hero to deal with it.
The king's jaw clenched.
Exactly.
Rook groaned under his breath.
I knew that was coming.
Don't look so put upon,
Said Mirabelle with a twinkle in her eye. Rook's only reply was to mutter something very rude in Goblin under his breath, bow again, or attempt to, and turn toward the exit. As he reached the doors, Fluffykins called out,
Rook! If you do find another spider, can I keep it?
Sure, kid.
Rook said.
As long as it doesn't keep you.
The doors closed behind him with a heavy boom. For a moment the hall was silent. Then Wulfric muttered,
I hate that goblin.
And Mirabelle, smiling faintly, replied,
Yes, dear. That's why he's still alive.
8 legs, 1 problem. The castle of Wulfric the Magnificent had always been draughty, echoing and faintly judgmental, but tonight it was quiet. Too quiet even for a place where most of the staff pretended to be asleep whenever Rook walked past. Rook crept through the torch-lit corridors, one hand on the hilt of his sword, the other holding a half-eaten biscuit. His boots squeaked faintly on the stone floor.
You sense that?
He muttered. The sword purred, low and eager.
Tension. Suspense. Predatory intent.
Yeah.
Rook said. A long silk thread trailed from the ceiling, glowing faintly in the torchlight. It swayed as if breathing. Rook leaned in closer, and the web twanged, snapping upward into the shadows. Rook froze.
That's fine,
He whispered to himself.
That's completely normal. Castles just breathe sticky air sometimes.
Something skittered. Rook spun round, sword raised too late. A clump of webbing slapped into his face. He staggered, flailing, muffled curses bouncing off the walls.
Get it off! Get it off! I didn't survive the forest to die in royal interior design.
The sword's voice was serene.
This is clearly a tactical trap. Calm yourself.
You calm yourself!
Rook finally tore the web off and hurled it away only for it to land perfectly on a passing servant's tray. He pressed on through this gallery corridor, where portraits of ancestors stared down at him, with the smug expression of people who'd never had to deal with 8-legged intruders. A single strand of webbing stretched across the king's great-grandfather's nose like a moustache.
Stylish,
Rook muttered.
adds dignity.
Then he heard it, a chitter, low and rhythmic, echoing through the air vents. He followed the sound to a servant's staircase. The air grew colder, thicker, and sweet with the smell of dust and silk. Cobwebs clung to every railing. When he reached the bottom, the corridor ahead shimmered white. A cocoon hung from the ceiling. Inside it, something moved. Rook raised the sword, his voice steady but his ears twitching.
All right. Whatever's in there, I'm giving you 5 seconds to say you're friendly.
Silence. Then, a faint muffled snore. He blinked.
Oh!
He sliced open the cocoon. Out tumbled Prince Fluffykins, asleep, wrapped like an overstuffed burrito in spider silk. The boy hit the floor, snored once, then muttered,
5 more minutes, Nanny.
Before rolling over. Rook rubbed his temples.
How did you even get down here?
The sword hissed.
The Queen's sister has returned.
Not helpful.
A shadow passed over the far wall, large, deliberate, and undeniably arachnid. Rook looked down at the prince, then back up at the dark corridor.
Right.
He muttered as
Round 3 it is.
the torchlight flickered, as if the whole castle held its breath. Rook squared his shoulders.
Come on then, legs. Let's finish this.
The sword trembled with glee.
At last, vengeance and glory.
More like unpaid overtime.
Rook grumbled, stepping into the darkness. The web shimmered ahead, stretching deep into the castle's guts, and somewhere in that endless tangle something laughed. The Battle of the Silk Halls. It began with a scream, not a heroic bard-worthy scream, but a "there's something hairy on my foot" sort of shriek that echoed down the corridors of Wulfric's castle. Rook came skidding around the corner, sword in hand, half-buttoned tunic flapping like a flag of disorganization. The moment he saw the great hall, his jaw dropped. The place was alive. Webs coated the chandeliers, the banqueting table, even the royal portraits, each ancestor now bound in gossamer, like particularly smug sausages. Servants ran in all directions. The king's prized golden boar statue hung upside down, cocooned, spinning slowly like a piñata of despair. And in the middle of it all, something vast stirred. The Spider Queen's sister, pale as bone and twice as mean, unfolded from the shadows. Her eyes burned red like coals in a forge, and her mandibles clicked a rhythm that made the chandeliers tremble. Rook groaned.
I knew you'd take this personally.
The sword hummed with manic delight.
Round 3, my darling nemesis!
The Spider Queen's sister shrieked, spraying silk in a storm. Rook dove aside, rolling behind the table as silver strands sliced through the air like crossbow bolts. Platters and pudding exploded in every direction.
Oi! That's the royal dessert trolley!
FWIP, a webline narrowly missed his ear.
Okay, we're past talking.
Rook sprang up, slashing through the air. The enchanted blade carved glowing arcs of light, slicing webs and slicing legs, 1, 2, maybe 3. The math got messy when everything had too many limbs. The sister reared back and slammed down one massive limb, shattering the banquet table. Crockery flew like shrapnel. Rook ducked behind an overturned chair. The Spider Queen's sister lunged again, hissing. Her fangs clacked together an inch from Rook's head. He swung upward in reflex clang. Metal met Fang, sparks flew, and the sword howled in glee.
I live for this!
It cried.
Glad one of us does!
Rook shouted, kicked off the floor and used the rebound to leap onto a curtain rope. For a fleeting, glorious second, Rook swung like a greenish acrobat, then the rope snapped, sending him crashing headfirst into the royal pudding fountain.
Elegant!
The sword noted.
Shut up!
The sister advanced, her legs clicking across the marble floor. She reared again, massive, towering, unstoppable. Rook struggled to his feet.
All right,
He growled.
let's end this.
The sword glowed a fierce molten white. Together, goblin and blade charged. The Spider Queen's sister struck, Rook ducked under, rolled and hacked through one leg. The creature screamed, thrashing wildly. A webline shot from her spinneret, snagging Rook's ankle and yanking him up into the air.
Ah, this is not progress!
He swung upside down, flailing as the Queen drew closer, dripping venom that hissed when it hit the floor.
Think, Rook, think! Oh, forget it!
He twisted midair, sliced the webline, dropped like a stone and landed perfectly on the chandelier. The sword laughed.
Inspired!
I was aiming for the floor.
The chandelier swayed, groaned and snapped free, crashing down onto the Spider Queen's sister below. The explosion of glass and web sent dust and silk flying like storm snow. Silence. Then the massive form twitched and stopped. Rook blinked.
Did that actually work?
The sword hummed smugly.
Of course! It was my idea.
Then a familiar voice rang out across the ruined hall.
Well done, Rook the Vermin. You've redecorated my banquet hall again.
King Wulfric stomped in, crown askew, still in his nightshirt. Behind him, Queen Mirabelle looked torn between laughter and despair. Rook, still half dangling from the chandelier wreckage, saluted weakly.
All in a night's work, Your Majesty.
Wulfric's eye twitched.
Clean it up.
Mirabelle's lips twitched.
Perhaps after breakfast, dear.
From beneath the shattered glass, the Spider Queen twitched one final time. Rook groaned.
Oh, don't you dare get back up!
But she didn't. She melted into smoke, hissing, leaving only a glistening black fang on the tiles glowing faintly, humming with old magic. The sword whispered,
Your trophy.
Rook dropped down.
You know what this means?
Yes, another royal quest.
He stared up at the ceiling.
I was hoping for a nap.
I know who you are. Morning came to Castle Wulfric like a hangover in a crown. Sunlight tried bravely to pierce the curtains, but most of it got lost in the cobwebs still hanging from the ceiling. The royal decorators were on strike. We don't do legs, they'd said. And somewhere beneath the castle, in the faintly damp quarters once reserved for well, no one important, a goblin stirred. Rook blinked awake, one eye crusted shut, the other staring directly into the crooked ceiling beam he'd been meaning to fix since moving in. His back ached, his arm ached, his everything ached. He groaned.
If this is what victory feels like, I'd rather have defeat with breakfast.
The sword leaned idly in the corner, glinting smugly.
You snored.
I was recovering. There's a difference.
He swung his legs off the cot and squelched onto the cold stone floor. The faint, ever-present gurgle of the pipes greeted him like an old friend, a friend who never shut up. He rubbed his face, yawned, and shuffled toward the door, muttering,
Maybe Mirabelle will give me a medal. Or at least coffee. Or at least not another quest before I've found both socks.
He reached for the handle and froze. Someone had written on his door, in faint white chalk just about 2 inches from the floor, exactly at goblin eye level, were the words, I know who you are. Rook blinked.
That's comforting.
He bent down, inspecting the letters. Small handwriting, neat, deliberate, and low, very low. Whoever wrote it was either short, sneaky, or both. He rubbed the chalk between his fingers, fresh, from the night.
Right.
He muttered, straightening.
Not creepy at all. Love waking up to anonymous threats. Really sets the mood for the day.
The sword hummed softly.
Perhaps someone has seen through your disguise.
I don't have a disguise. I'm just naturally unimportant.
Exactly.
Rook sighed.
Perfect. Someone in this castle's decided to play Guess the Goblin.
He cracked the door open and peered out. The corridor was empty, almost too empty. Usually by now there'd be servants rushing around pretending they weren't terrified of him. Instead, just dust drifted in the morning light. He stepped out slowly, half expecting another web to slap him in the face. Nothing, just quiet. He padded down the corridor, nose twitching, eyes sharp. The air smelled faintly of burnt silk and cleaning potion, a sure sign the king's royal sanitation mage had tried to fumigate the great hall again. A faint skitter echoed from behind a vent. Rook spun, sword up. Silence, he exhaled.
Jumping at noises now? Brilliant. That's step 1 on the Becoming the Weird Castle Hermit checklist.
Still the message gnawed at him. I know who you are. He didn't even know who he was half the time. Mercenary? Assassin? Hero? Unpaid janitor of royal disasters? Rook frowned.
Sword? You don't think the king?
Too subtle for him.
True.
He glanced back at his door one last time. The chalk gleamed faintly in the dim light. Whoever wrote it had meant him to see it, and Rook had a very bad feeling that this wasn't over. He sighed, rubbing his temple.
Wonderful. Another mystery. I haven't even had breakfast yet.
Just then, from upstairs came a shriek, the kind that suggested someone had found a spider where no spider should ever be. Rook sighed again, already reaching for his boots.
Fine. No peace for the pest control goblin.
He grabbed the sword, muttering,
Let's go find out who's feeling mysterious today.
The sword purred, almost gleeful.
Adventure before coffee. My favorite kind.
Yeah,
Rook grunted, stepping out into the corridor.
you would say that.
Breakfast and bad omens. The scream turned out not to be an invasion of giant spiders, nor a dark curse awakening beneath the castle floor, but a rat. A small, scruffy, deeply offended rat that had wandered into the kitchen in search of crumbs and been greeted by the castle cook's ladle-based panic attack. By the time Rook arrived, sword drawn, boots untied, hero face engaged, the rat had already escaped through the pastry shelf, leaving only a half-eaten tart and a trail of chaos.
False alarm!
Someone shouted as Rook trudged in.
Of course it is.
He muttered, lowering the sword.
The one time I'm ready for drama.
Before he could retreat back to his beloved basement hovel, a royal messenger appeared, holding a scroll that smelled faintly of jam.
His Highness, Prince Fluffykins, and Her Majesty, Queen Mirabelle, request your presence for breakfast,
the messenger said in the tone of someone delivering a death sentence. Rook blinked.
Breakfast? Me?
Yes.
Inside? At the actual table?
Yes?
You're sure this isn't a trap?
The messenger only sighed.
Not that I know of, sir.
The royal breakfast chamber. By the time Rook arrived, the long table was already half filled with sunlight, teapots, and conversation. Queen Mirabelle, resplendent in silk and good humour, poured herself another cup of tea. Prince Fluffykins, perched opposite her, was attempting to butter a croissant without waking up properly, a battle he was losing.
Ah, there's our hero.
Mirabelle said brightly as Rook entered.
Come, sit. You've earned something warm for once.
Rook hesitated.
You sure? I'm not exactly dressed for table decor.
Nonsense. You saved the castle from a monster again. You can survive breakfast with my family.
Fluffykins peered up, yawning.
Morning, Rook. You've got a bit of web in your ear still.
Rook fished it out.
Oh, good. A souvenir.
As he sat, the Queen leaned in with that look that meant gossip approaching at high speed.
So,
she said, voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper.
We've heard about your little message.
Rook groaned.
Of course you have. News travels faster than plague in this place.
Fluffykins perked up instantly.
You mean the writing on your door? I know who you are. Everyone's talking about it. Half the guards think it's a spy, the other half think it's ghosts.
Ghosts?
Rook repeated flatly.
Because naturally, ghosts write in chalk.
The Queen chuckled.
Oh, don't mind them. The castle runs on rumours more than magic these days.
She took a sip of tea.
Still, it is rather curious, isn't it? Who would leave a message like that for you of all people?
Rook shrugged, trying to sound casual.
Could be anyone. I've annoyed most of the population.
The sword propped against his chair hummed softly like a cat with secrets.
Perhaps they truly do know who you are, little goblin.
Rook kicked it under the table.
Not helping?
Mirabelle smiled faintly, watching him with that sharp kindness only queens and mothers possess.
Whatever it means, you handled yourself admirably, Rook. You've done this castle a great service, even if the decorators are cursing your name.
Fluffykins grinned.
Dad says you cause more property damage than the dragon invasion.
Only because I clean up after myself,
Rook muttered. The Queen laughed, light and musical.
Well, we'll see if we can find you a slightly safer task next time.
Rook raised a brow.
You mean less deadly or less absurd?
Let's start with less slimy, shall we?
They ate in companionable chaos, the kind of breakfast where jam found its way onto royal sleeves and someone accidentally set the napkins on fire. Rook blamed the sword, naturally. And for a fleeting golden moment Rook felt something almost like belonging. But as the plates cleared and Mirabelle began her morning letters, Rook's gaze drifted toward the window to the distant forest beyond the castle walls. He could still feel that message burning behind his eyes. I know who you are. The words stuck with him, a whisper under the laughter, a promise or a threat. He sighed, finishing his tea in one gulp.
Well,
he muttered.
Guess we'll find out soon enough.
Fluffykins looked up.
Find out what?
Rook smirked.
Who keeps writing on my door, for one thing? And probably what horrible thing your father's going to send me after next.
The prince grinned.
Can I come next time?
Only if you bring snacks.
They both laughed, and somewhere deep beneath the castle a faint skitter echoed through the pipes. Rook's ear twitched.
Probably just the plumbing,
he said. But even the sword didn't sound convinced. The end of Book 4